All right, so let's get into this. I'm not going to be using my overlay because it was kind of brought to my attention that using the overlay, people might not have actually been able to properly see the video that we were watching. Yes, Core, thank you. So I'm not going to use the overlay so I can get proper full screen of the video so anybody watching on their mobile will be able to properly see the video too. So I'm not going to use the overlay because it was brought to my attention that could be an issue for people watching on mobile wanting to see the video. So we're just going to go back to my old school way of doing it, which is this. And if there's a video in question where I need to move around so I'm not blocking something, I will move around not blocking something. Yes, Jimmy, you are absolutely correct that games in Canada are already $80. 80 or $90 already. Actually, I think it's probably closer to $90, which means that games in Canada are going to, the standard is going to go up to over $100. But yeah, they're increasing not only the cost of the games, but consoles as well. It's not just games. So let's get into this so we can get some data on the screen.
So remember when I warned that it's not just Nintendo, gaming consoles, and games that'll get more expensive?
Hold on. What is going... Why is it giving me this... Why is it giving me this bar at the bottom? Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I don't know why it's giving me this bar at the bottom to scroll. Give me 1 second, chat. I gotta... Well, let me try closing this and then opening it back up again. I shouldn't be zoomed in on the page at all. Okay, there we go. Closing the page and opening it fixed it. All right. Round 2. I think it might be Opera. I may have to switch to Firefox for the video reacts because Opera seems to be giving me trouble lately. Anyway, let's start over again.
So remember when I warned that it's not just Nintendo, gaming consoles, and games that'll get more expensive, but gaming as a whole is about to get a whole lot?
Okay, I'm going to do it in fairness. He's not the only one that said this about games and gaming consoles becoming more expensive after Nintendo made their announcement. He's not the only one. Everybody with an eye on the gaming industry called this out. The moment Nintendo made the announcement that the Switch is going to be more expensive, then the Switch 2 is going to be more expensive, and the games are going to be more expensive. The minute that announcement came out, everyone, myself included, was saying, if Nintendo's doing this, you can bank on it that the rest of the gaming industry is going to do it. You could bank on it. And lo and behold, Microsoft is doing it. And you know, PlayStation is going to be right fucking behind them. PlayStation is absolutely going to be right behind them. And the excuse they're going to be making is the tariffs. I bet you that is the excuse that they're going to be making. They're going to be blaming it on the tariffs.
A lot more expensive. It has begun with Xbox having raised prices for consoles, controllers, accessories like headsets.
Yeah, accessories too, they're raising prices on.
Market conditions, referring to tariffs and all the various economic elements currently ongoing. And it's pretty bad. Like, I'm not gonna mince words here. This is going to cook Xbox. This is gonna be a rough tiding for hardware sales. So Microsoft on their official website, on their Xbox.com website specifically, posted the following notification and announcement stating, quote, pricing updates announced on May 1st, 2025.
And this is not only going to be affecting the console, the accessories, all the accessories that you're going to be looking to be buying for Xbox, including controllers, they're going up. And their subscription, Xbox Live, that is also going up. Don't forget about that. Xbox Live is also going up. I think it may have already gone up. Even the Xbox Live subscription, I think may have already increased, but it's going to. And I'm going to tell you something. You know how I know Sony is right behind it? They have already increased the price for PS Plus. I think I told you about this. I received an email from Sony, because I have a PS Plus subscription. I already received an email from Sony saying that my PS Plus subscription, when it renews, will go up by, I think, $20. And that day I went, cancel, and I canceled my PS Plus subscription. Like, all of it's going up. So Xbox is doing it now. Sony will be making an announcement before too long doing the exact same thing. They're going to be upping the price of the consoles, and they're going to be upping the price of the accessories. Well, Jack, I don't know about you, but I got the email saying it's going to go up for me, and that's when I canceled it. Yeah. And they're going to blame tariffs, but it's kind of hard to blame tariffs when so many of the games are digital downloads. I'm reasonably sure I don't think tariffs have anything to do with digital downloads. Now, it's possible they might. I am not an expert when it comes to how tariffs work. I would not expect them to work on digital downloads. So, what's the justification for the price increase on digital copy? You can't blame the tariffs for that.
As of May 1st, so this has already gone into effect, we have adjusted recommended retailer pricing MSRP for consoles and controllers worldwide. We also expect to adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season to $80. What did I tell you? When Nintendo priced Mario Kart World at $80 alongside some of their Switch 2 edition games at $80, I said every other company is going to follow suit. That when one major company pulls a move that pisses everyone off, but they get away with it, every other corporation, every other entity in the gaming realm will see that and go, oh, we can now start getting away with that too. And so now Xbox is on board the $80 MSRP train for their major releases, and you can bet your ass that all other game publishers will follow suit. So gaming as a whole is about to get a whole lot more expensive. The statement continues. Those titles purchased on the Xbox Store have the benefit of Xbox Play Anywhere, allowing players to buy once and play on console and PC at no additional cost. We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost.
Resin? I don't think so. I understand your logic behind that thought process, but I honestly don't think that it started with the GTA 6 price. Because the GTA 6 price, it was projected. It was just projected. The game is not even released yet. And one game saying we're going to charge $80, games have a bit of a fluctuation already as is in terms of pricing. And GTA 6 being such a highly anticipated game, they can get away with asking for that price for that single game. Nintendo saying we're upping the price of the console by $100 and we're upping the price of games to be $80 as standard. That is what, and the fact that people and the pre-orders is what sold it. If they didn't have a significant amount of pre-orders once those went live, Xbox probably would not have done it. My guess is Nintendo probably had a significant number of pre-orders to justify this price increase, and so Xbox said, cool, gamers will pay this. Time to crank the cost up. Yeah, it could be, Jack. And again, charging $100 for a single game, while absolutely high, is not exactly unheard of, because we've already got games like deluxe versions and whatnot that are going for $100 right now. Yeah, so because the Switch 2 pre-orders sold out within hours, Microsoft saw that, went, cool, these dumb fucks will pay the extra $100 for the console and the extra $20 for the games. Okay, it's a proven metric. Hit the switch and up the price. If the pre-orders for the Switch 2 flatlined and they didn't get the pre-orders that they were hoping for, and the pre-orders were very lukewarm, then Microsoft would have held off. But because they sold out of pre-orders right away, Microsoft said, "Cool, we can up the price even further." I mean, Revan, it's undoubtedly there's going to be some for sure, but the fact is, Nintendo has started this because Nintendo is a greedy-ass fucking company. But so is Microsoft. And Microsoft said, "Cool, we ball." And now we see what's happening.
Cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players. So, how are prices going to change? Well, scrolling down, you'll find various PDFs for specific regions across the world, like the US, Europe, UK, Australia, so on and so forth. And looking at those PDFs, you'll find something like this. This is the US price points, the new price points, rather. Now, there's no comparison here. We can see the prices.
Of course there isn't.
Xbox decided to omit the old prices because that's what companies do. They don't want people to see the price difference because it keeps consumers informed about just how much more they're paying. And when consumers are aware of how much more they're paying, then they're just less incentivized or more discouraged from purchasing that particular product. But right here we have a post from C7 Gaming highlighting the old prices versus the new prices.
Okay, by the way, what is this? You get what you vote for? Okay, C7 Gaming, let's not pretend that the tariffs actually caused this. I cannot remember the exact timeline. I'm trying to remember if I think Nintendo announced the increased prices before the tariffs came into play. If I'm remembering my timeline correctly, Nintendo announced the Switch 2, the increased price. No, Laruck, I'm not going to give that benefit. I'm not going to give the benefit that they're saying vote with your wallet. I am not. Yeah, I think Nintendo made the announcement about the Switch 2 with the increased price. Was it after? I'm trying to remember if it was before or after. Because there was, I can't remember. That's why I was trying to go over my head. Like, I'm trying to remember. Like, did the tariffs come into play and then immediately he paused them? Yeah, the next day or two, and then he did the immediate pause on them. It was before they announced a delay in release. The delay in release. Yeah, so they announced the Switch 2 and its pricing before the tariffs. What they announced the delay in the pre-orders is when the tariffs kicked in. Yeah, I think, I don't even fucking remember. Anyway, it's let's not pretend that the tariffs is what's causing this. The gaming companies have been getting greedier and greedier, and we saw this was coming. The prospect was first breached with GTA 6 announcing that the game was going to be like $100. It was first, that issue was first raised then, and then Nintendo pulled this, and as soon as they did it, everybody went, okay, so now all the gaming companies are going to do it. But yeah, everything is going up by like $100. Everything's going up by like $100 here. And the controllers, they're going up by $10. Looks like the regular controller's staying the same. Limited edition's going up by $10. The Elite Series 2 is going up by $20. The headset's going up by $10. So everything's going up.
And you can see it is ridiculous. The price increases are no joke. This is pretty egregious stuff. and it defeats the purpose of certain consoles like Xbox Series S,
Oh,
which
I
is
remember
supposed to be
that,
this
Revan, yeah.
entry-level Xbox that is very affordable and reasonably priced. This has gone from $300 to $380. That is an $80 price increase that makes it priced similarly to a base PlayStation 5 console at $400. And then beyond that, that makes it significantly more expensive than Nintendo Switch consoles. The OLED version is $350, and that's cheaper than the Xbox Series S. And this is the 512 gigabyte model, the cheapest model. If you get the 1 terabyte model, that has gone from $350 to $430, also an $80 price increase. And then we got the flagship console, Xbox Series X. The digital version here has gone from $450 to $550. That's a $100 price increase.
Yeah.
Same thing with Xbox Series X, from $500 to $600. And then a step above that, you've got the Galaxy Black Edition of Xbox Series X with an included 2 terabytes of internal storage, from $600 to $730. That's a $130 price increase, making it significantly more expensive than the more powerful and the newer console, PlayStation 5 Pro, which also comes with 2 terabytes of storage, which is currently priced at $700. The 2 terabyte version of Xbox.
Keyword there, currently priced. Because, like we've been saying, guarantee you, Sony is going to come out before too long, and they're going to say, our prices are going up too. Okay, Dragon Rider, hush. We're not pulling that. We're not talking about that at all. Okay?
Take a look at Angry Birds 2. That game is a money pit. I quit playing it around 20 months ago.
I don't even know if I've played Angry Birds 2 or not. But this is... Sony is just as bad and just as scummy of a gaming company as Microsoft is when it comes to scalping people. So they are right behind. They're waiting. What Sony is doing is they're probably delaying slightly to see how this news is received, to see if it's going to affect Microsoft. See, Sony's hanging back and watching. They watched Nintendo. They watched Nintendo to see how that was reacted. Okay, Nintendo sold out. But Nintendo is still a bit niche. That's the thing. It is still a bit niche when it comes to consoles. Microsoft's Xbox is mainstream. It absolutely is a mainstream console. So now Sony is going to be watching to see what the response is from the customer base, how people react to the Xbox, they react to Xbox increasing their pricing. And if people just gobble the slop up like they're expecting him to, in a couple weeks or maybe a month or two, Sony will come out and say, and they'll give the same fucking excuse, and they're going to say, we're upping the prices on all of our shit too. Just wait, it's going to happen. You just wait.
Series X is $30 more than the PlayStation 5 Pro. It is utterly insane. And then you can also see right here that certain controllers, particularly the special editions and limited editions, have gone up by
they won't,
$10.
Sorry. No, I don't think Sony is going to try and act like the heroes. Because Sony has proven that they don't give a fuck. Like the whole controversy thing that happened with Helldivers, where they basically prevented any country that cannot get PlayStation Plus. They prevented them from getting games like Helldivers or I forget what this specific samurai game. I think it was maybe Ghost of Tsushima. Like Sony has prevented countries that cannot get PS Plus from owning any game that has been produced by... No, it wasn't Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Yotei isn't out yet. It was a game that was already out. I think it might have been Ghost of Tsushima. But it was any game that Sony produces, like that's a Sony exclusive, that is also on PC, they have prevented countries that can't have PS Plus from buying those games either on console or on PC. If you are in a country where you are not able to get PS Plus, then not only can you not get Helldivers on your console, you cannot get Helldivers on PC either. It is not made available in that geographic region that cannot get PS Plus because Helldivers is owned by Sony. Even though it's available on PC, it is still owned by Sony, and Sony is not releasing it to any country that can't jack into the PS Plus framework. Even though you don't have to sign into PS Plus. So, no, I don't think Sony is going to be the hero. They've already proven themselves to be absolute scumbags in this regard. So I don't think Sony is going to be the hero at all. I think they're basically doing what I said. They're waiting to see how the market reacts to Microsoft doing this. And if there isn't a bad response and people just still keep buying shit, then they're going to do it too. Because they know the gamers will just continue to eat the slot.
Got this right here, the Elite Wireless Controller Series 2 that has gone up by $20. And right here we have the Xbox wireless headset, which has gone up by $10. And
that was another one, Bishrock. There were
Xbox
multiple
releases will all likely be $80 from here on out. So the Xbox ecosystem as a whole just got a whole lot more expensive. And the thing is, Xbox, from a hardware sales standpoint, is lagging woefully behind the competition. Currently, according to VG charts, the estimated sales for Xbox Series X and S as a whole is 32.77 million units, which is lagging woefully behind PlayStation 5's 75.28 million units, and the Switch is dominating at over 150 million units. And they're about to launch the Switch 2 at 450.
Well, okay, I will point out the Switch the Switch 1 may be dominating console hardware sales because the Switch 1 is literally half the cost of things like the PS5 and the Xbox. That's why I think the Switch is dominating console sales. It's far cheaper. So, in this metric, there's a bit of a false equivalency because of that. And then once the Switch 2 launches, it's going to cost the same as the Switch 2 is going to launch and it's going to cost like $400. So this may change.
$50, which is, despite it still being somewhat expensive, significantly cheaper than some of these Xbox prices right here. And so when it comes to Xbox hardware, this puts Xbox in an incredibly precarious position. They're already lagging way behind. This will only exacerbate that problem. Now, it is worth noting that Xbox has shifted strategies recently. They're no longer about shipping their first-party games exclusively on Xbox. They're trying to make those games available on PC, as well as competing platforms like PlayStation and even Nintendo. They've already kind of made statements to that effect, saying that Xbox is now about playing those games anywhere, on the cloud, on any screen that you can find, and selling their games on as many consoles as possible. They're essentially going third party. They're kind of going Sega. So you can see right here that titles like Forza Horizon 5 recently came out on PlayStation 5. Titles like Outer Worlds 2 are coming out on PlayStation 5. And then beyond that, you've got releases like Doom: The Dark Ages that's coming out on PlayStation 5. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered came out on PlayStation 5. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle came out on PlayStation 5. These are all under the Bethesda Softworks banner, which are all under the ZeniMax Media banner, which are now under the Microsoft banner because Microsoft purchased ZeniMax, and all those games are coming out on competing platforms. So Xbox no longer really cares about hardware sales, but if their hardware sold well, it would put them in a more advantageous position, combined with the fact that the perceptions surrounding the price increases still apply, and it's going to dissuade people from the Xbox ecosystem as a whole. Now, one thing we do not know yet is how tariffs are going to impact PlayStation. Sure, the prices are as is right now, but if Xbox is increasing prices, then I would imagine that given that PlayStation consoles are made in countries where tariffs are going to impact them, it is possible, it is highly likely, in fact, that PlayStation hardware prices will go up as well. So while I talk about discrepancies in price points, I think we might potentially see PlayStation also up the prices to a degree that they seem appropriate based on current market conditions. If you were ever thinking about getting a PlayStation 5 in the not-so-distant future, and you want to be certain that you will get it at a cheaper MSRP or at the MSRP that these consoles launched in before a potential price increase, then I would honestly get these now as soon as possible. But the thing about PlayStation is that they're in a much better position. Their hardware is already sold really well. They've got a huge player base that they can ship their games to, and their exclusives do tend to be console sellers and draw in a lot of people, with Xbox lagging as behind as they are in the quote-unquote console races or console wars or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, I do want to point out, the price of the consoles going up really sucks. It's going to disenfranchise people from purchasing consoles, even though that many of them still will. What's going to affect these industries more than the increase of the consoles? Because let's not forget, like with the accessories, people can easily get third-party accessories for these consoles that are half the cost of the brand name, and that work just as good. So let's not forget about that. So the cost of the console, the cost of the accessories, Xbox Now, PlayStation in the future, that's going to minimally impact people. Realistically speaking, the console itself may be a little bit more pricey, and for those that don't have it yet, it may disenfranchise them from buying a console. What's really going to affect people is the increased cost of the games. We have, in the last 10 years, seen an increase. Actually, it might not even be 10 years. But we have seen an increase of cost of games of like $20 to $30 per game in the last 5 to 10 years. Like once upon a time, as in like 5 or 10 years ago, a AAA game, brand new, was $60, maybe $65. That was the base game. That's not including like special editions and shit like that. It was $60. Now it's going to be up to $80. And that is going to turn people away more than the cost of the consoles. Yeah, because it's $80 before tax. Okay, let's not forget, the price we're seeing is before tax. After tax, you're looking at a cost of probably close to $100 for one game with these price increases. And this is probably going to be on Xbox or PC if it's a Microsoft title. Because this is first-party Microsoft titles we're talking about. These games, these AAA games, are going to be, taxes and all, probably close to $100 per game. And that's in the US. In Canada, it's going to be like $130. Okay? For me to buy a brand new AAA game in Canada with these price increases, it's probably going to cost me $120 or $130 to buy a game. Because the games themselves right now are already $80 to $90 for first-party AAA titles. They're already $80 to $90 in Canada. With these price increases, it's going to go to like $120 for a single game. No, Robo, you're talking about with the tax. Possibly, but that's still close to $100. And for Canada, it's even worse. I would be having second or third thoughts when it comes to a brand new game if I had to pay $120 fucking dollars. Particularly given that the gaming industry right now, why am I going to want to risk that spending that kind of money on a game that could very well be a piece of shit? Because so many games these days are shit games. So why would I be incentivized to spend even more money over $100 on a game that could be shit. You know, this is why, yeah, I think what we're gonna be seeing is a lot of people may start going back and playing legacy games. I suspect that legacy games and indie titles are going to see an increase in popularity. And this is the time for it. Like, indie game companies have got to be looking at this like, okay, this is our chance to shine. And I hope to God that they are able to capitalize on, okay, the AAA first-party titles are going crazy with the pricing. Let's put out some really good games. We'll charge half the price for them. And people will buy them because it's literally half the price of the AAA titles. And as long as the game is good, they'll be successful. So this is just like, it's basically the same as with Hollywood, where it's like the indie studios, this is the time to shine since Hollywood is shitting itself right now with everything it's putting out. Same thing with the gaming industry. The indie gaming the indie game devs, this is their time to shine. This is their time to knuckle up and start putting out some really good single A or double A games and show gamers that the AAA games that they're going to be spending $100+ on aren't worth it, when you can be playing really good games far cheaper.
The price increases and the degree to which prices are being increased is going to cripple their sales significantly, I think. I mean, it was only back in March that we saw articles with headlines like this. PS5 sales are outpacing PS4 in the US, whereas Xbox Series X and S are lagging well behind Xbox One. Given all of the woe surrounding Xbox One, lagging behind that is a serious issue. But yeah, it's starting. The gaming space as a whole is going to be severely impacted by the tariffs, and market-leading companies like Nintendo starting to set game prices at $80, even though digital doesn't require distribution that physical does. Like, it'd be one thing if they up the prices for physical releases because, of the distribution that is required and the potential of tariffs impacting manufacturing for physical copies. It'd be one thing if, at the very least, they kept the digital the same price, but the fact that we're seeing even digital versions that, are just downloadable.
There's my point. That's why I've said they're using the tariffs as an excuse. That's exactly why I said it. Because they're upping the cost of the games across the board, physical and digital. And that's how you know that they're just using the excuse of tariffs as just that. They're using it to obfuscate their greed. And they're also using it to, I also think that they're using it to offset the massive financial losses these companies have taken. Because let us not forget, these companies have lost a fuck ton of money on dog shit games these last few years. They have put out these companies, both first party games and not first party games, have lost a shit ton of money because of dog shit games the last several years. They need to try and recoup that somehow. And this is how they're going to do it. But they don't want to actually say we need to recoup our losses because we've put out garbage fucking games that have lost us tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not going to say that. They're going to basically use the tariffs as a very convenient excuse to say, well, because of these tariffs, we have to increase the costs on everything, including digital games, which are not tariffed. That's how you know it's bullshit. That's how you know that the tariffs are an excuse and that they're just going, they're saying, fuck you, give me money.
Don't require that kind of manufacturing and production and whatnot, being up to $80 is just something that is not sitting well with a lot of people, obviously. And now everyone's following suit, including Microsoft, on top of the hardware price increases. It is just not going to bode well at all for Xbox, both in terms of optics and sales. And for consumers, well, I mean, prepare to spend a lot of money on gaming. Prepare for gaming becoming just less accessible as a whole. But keep in mind that it's not just the gaming issue. There are tons of companies outside of gaming warning people about how tariffs and the current economic conditions will impact bottom lines, will impact prices. Prepare for just the cost of living in general to go up in prices. Just brace yourself for that possibility. And with the Trump tariffs being in constant flux and there not being a clear vision or plan with it, there's just a lot of confusion and a lot of uncertainty, which is just further going to fuck with the economy. And so, especially when it concerns products made in China, that's the area that the U.S. government is really tackling the most, with other countries currently having a 90-day pause as far as tariffs are concerned. But once that pause is over, who knows what's going to happen? And again, plans are constantly...
Yard Dog, to your point, you are correct. And what's going to happen is when consoles price themselves into direct competition with lower-end PC with lower-end gaming PCs, people will get the gaming PCs instead of the consoles, because the gaming PCs have a wider reach than consoles. If the consoles are going to start pricing themselves into the range of a gaming PC, you actually have access to more games on PC than you do on console. Plus, you can do more than game on them. Because, leave us not forget, anything that is either an Xbox exclusive or a PS exclusive ends up on PC. Helldivers is a PS quote-unquote exclusive. You cannot play it on Xbox, but you can play it on PC. Not to mention, a lot of these games are going cross-platform already, but anything released exclusively on console will be on PC. And if the question is, do I buy a console or do I buy a gaming PC? A gaming PC is going to be able to do a fuckload more for you than a console will. Because on a gaming PC, not only can you game, but you can do everything else that comes with a computer. And it's upgradable. So yeah. Once consoles price themselves into the range of gaming PCs, consoles will be done, I think.
Shifting, and there's just no clarity on how tariffs are going to be executed. And so this is just going to be a constant flux. But there is the certainty that prices will go up. By how much, that's where things are up in the air, but they will go up. So just brace yourself in general, not just when it comes to gaming, not just in the luxuries that you partake in, but in your standard of living and in your ability to just be able to get necessities and basic needs. All of that will be impacted. But yeah, for those who are in the Xbox ecosystem or were planning to become a part of the Xbox family, all of this is important for you to know. Once you invest in the Xbox ecosystem, know that you are going to be spending quite a bit more money on just about everything.
Oh, actually, I'll
from hardware to games to accessories. PlayStation folks, brace yourself for that, for a similar possibility. The Switch 2 recently, while they kept the base price of the consoles the same, they did up the price of accessories like controllers and whatnot, and additional things you can get for the Switch 2. And again, $80 games are going to be commonplace now, so just really brace yourself. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to know about the latest story in regards to Xbox prices going up and prices for gaming as a whole just ramping up. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on all of this, and to be further updated on all.
Also, Steam can afford price cuts on games since they sell digital only, so another advantage for them.
It's not just that, Revan, but I'll get to that in a second.
Things, gaming news, reviews, and discussions. Stay tuned right here on YongYea. I'll see you guys next time. YongYea.
So what I was going to be saying is, it's not only what you said, Revan, Steam can afford price cuts, yes, but one very big thing if and when consoles, as they are creeping closer to gaming PC level costs, here's another big factor that may come into play that has not been addressed. Multiplayer. Think about this. not only are you seeing an increase in the cost of the consoles, and Sony is following this, not only are you seeing an increase in gains, and Sony is going to follow this, if you want to play any multiplayer game on console, fork up another $100 a year to be able to play the multiplayer game that you have just paid $80+ for. Because on console, it's not simply buy the game, throw it in your machine, and play it. If it's a multiplayer, oh no, you have to have their subscription service in order to play a multiplayer game. You don't gotta do that with a PC. There is no extra cost to play a multiplayer game on PC. That's going to be a factor, especially when prices for the subscription services start going up even more, because that's next. We're going to hear about more subscriptions. Well, yes, Leo, barring, of course, if the MMO itself is a subscription, but those are few and far between. Yes, Warcraft is a subscription MMO, but that's not the majority of them. The majority of MMOs are not subscription-based on PC, but they sure as fuck are on console. So that is going to be another factor. So not only are you paying more for the console, not only are you paying more for the game, but you also got to pay an extra $100 a year to play this game, to play the multiplayer game online. And I bet you those are going to go up too. And people are going to start looking at all this money they have to shell out just to play a video game and say, fuck that, I'm just going to get a PC. I'll just get a PC. Not only is it do the same fucking thing that the consoles will, it's upgradable, and I don't have to pay extra money to play my online multiplayer game. That is probably what is going... This is going to come to a head, because while these guys are increasing, while Nintendo, Xbox, and soon Sony are increasing their prices like this, people's wages are not increasing to match. Let us not forget about that. People's wages, and the majority of gamers are, basically are like, minimum wage type workers, maybe some like middle, maybe some slightly above minimum wage workers. That's the majority of players. The majority of gamers don't make much money. Yeah, it's like average salary people. The cost of these games, they are going to be weighing, okay, am I going to want to spend nearly $100 on a video game, or would I rather pay my light bill? Or would I rather pay to have food in my home? Or would I rather pay to put gas in my car? That $100 for a video game, for some people, might be a tank of gas. And people are going to start weighing that and going, well, the game is not going to keep the game is not going to keep me fed or keep heat in my home. So no game. That's going to start, that question is going to start popping up in individuals' minds now when it comes to, should I get this game? Well, exactly, Kanito. Yeah. And again, the game may not work properly, or, as I said before, you don't know if it's going to be a good game. The gaming industry has put out so many fucking stinkers as of late. Who's going to want to risk paying nearly $100 for a game that might be absolute dog shit that you can't return after a certain period of time? Like, by the time you get into the game enough that it's clear that it's a shit game, you can't return it, that money's a wash. Who's going to want to risk that these days? Not many people. I will tell you that.